All right. You my thing. All right, we will call this Board of Directors meeting to order at 7:03 PM. Board has land acknowledgement and anti-racism statement posted on its website. Roll call tonight. We're missing Asia, Keith, and Gail. Brian, I think, is attending
Keith?
on Zoom. He is not here quite yet. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Linda?
Motion to amend the agenda. I'd like to have the consent agenda, all of the items removed. I went over them. I've got red line copies here. I was hoping that Brian was going to be here, but if nothing else, I can give them to either you or Joanne, but there's considerable mistakes in each one of these.
Okay. Any opposed to that?
No,
All right. Do we have a motion to adopt the amended agenda?
motion to adopt the amended agenda.
Second, all those in
Second.
favor? All right, it's adopted. Announcements, do we have any announcements?
Want me to go first? Okay, I just want to let everybody know that we'll be doing the budget presentation meetings on July 25th and July 27th. So the July 25th meeting starts at 6 o'clock. And that'll be our capital presentation portion. And then on July 27th will be the operational portion of the budget meeting. The Tuesday night meeting starts at 6 p.m. The Thursday will start at 7 because that's our regularly scheduled board meeting.
Sonia? Would you repeat those times and dates, please? Your
Yes. Okay.
the
So
sound here isn't that great.
So on July 25th and July 27th, we will have the budget presentations. July 25th is a Tuesday, and that meeting starts at 6 p.m. It's a capital presentation. We will have P&W here to discuss potential projects. And so that's going to take a little bit longer than the operational side. So we've split it in two, and that also gives everybody a little more time to review it and think about it. So when we come back on Thursday, that meeting will start at 7. We'll do the operational presentation, and then everybody can follow up, with any additional questions at that time.
Sonia, are these Zoom or in person or what?
They're in person. They're board and finance meetings. It's presentations to the board for our budget discussions.
Just a comment, and I'll put it as politely as possible. As the person on the finance committee, I have not been apprised of this meeting, and I will be out of town that week. It would have been nice to know, and I would have made arrangements to be in town. But likely I will probably not make either of those meetings, and I have not been privy to any budget information.
So just to be clear, I was informed of those dates about 2 hours ago. So you aren't the only one. So they kind of got pushed off. We're waiting. We needed to finalize some things from, there were some memos that were waiting to come in from Impact Design, who's doing the roads. And then we also needed a final memo on those wet slip docks, because that really impacts it. And so those all just came in this week. And so the final numbers aren't done. So, and I actually did speak to Joel about that, because I was like, well, because they're finishing up the operational side right now with the department managers. And so I had said, well, we need to get together with you. But I just didn't have anything, at this point. Can you make it via Zoom?
Possibly
Thursday
on the
meeting's a normal
25th.
meeting that's been.
Yeah, Thursday's normal meeting, which I was gonna ask you to be excused from that anyhow. But possibly on the Tuesday meeting I can, but on the Thursday meeting, it's not likely.
Well, the other option would be we could potentially present the capital that Thursday at the regular planned board meeting on the 27th. And then like the following week, we could just do the operational.
Aren't you into August then, though? Would
Yeah.
that be into August already
Be
for
in
ops?
August then.
I was trying to accommodate.
Oh, I know. I don't have a calendar and I'm going, if that's the 27th.
And if you can get me the information before that week and I can review it, then.
Yeah, and
I
we can
send you
get together.
comments.
We'll get together.
We can
like,
get
next
together and
week.
talk about it.
Yeah, we'll get together next week and have a meeting with Joel and Joanne, and then, yeah, and we can work through everything. Yeah. I'll talk to you.
So one of the reasons that we have trouble making the minutes is that people don't speak into the microphone, so it's almost impossible to track. And I realize that it's challenging sometimes to do that. But that's our system. You know, that's where we have people looking at and listening to the recordings in order to prepare those minutes. And when people don't speak clearly or into the microphones, it just isn't recorded.
Okay, so I think what we resolved is that we're going to stick with those, the 25th and 27th date, but I'm going to follow up with Stu. He's going to meet with Joel and I and Joanne to review that draft budget before it ever comes to the board. And that'll happen this next week, and we'll work around your schedule for that.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
For what it's worth, I can't make the 25th either. I don't know if it makes a difference if you need a quorum, but I can't make the 25th.
Fine with doing it a different day. I don't know what should we just do the 27th and then the following week? Oh,
I mean, we could do them. Of course, I don't know what you feel about this, but we could do them both in the first week of August, meaning like Tuesday, Thursday, instead of the Tuesday, Thursday last week of July, we could do that in August, Tuesday, Thursday.
I mean, we can just do the 27th, do the capital, depending upon how long that takes. If we feel like we can get through operations, we can do that too. Otherwise, we can just do operations at the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
okay. I'm pretty sure it's going to take 2 meetings, but
Yeah, we do.
Probably, but
okay. So we want to do that. We want to say that we're just going to stick with the regular board meeting August 27th, and that'll be the
I mean, July
budget
27th,
present.
July 27th.
I'm sorry, July 27th. Okay, July 27th is the meeting, the first meeting at 7 PM for the capital.
why don't we start at 6? It's gonna take longer.
Okay,
We're gonna do that anyways on the Tuesday. So does that work for people? Start an hour early on the
Those for
normal
me.
day?
Could you do them both then, or is it gonna take a while?
I'm a little
Yeah.
worried with presentations.
Gotcha.
That's what I was thinking. And plus so my thought was if we split them, that gives everybody, because we're going to present those projects and the discussion and what we're thinking, but it gives everybody some time to sit with it. And then the next meeting we'll do operations and give you a bigger, chance to ask more questions about it. That's why I was thinking split it too.
Yeah, plus like last year, I tried to push them both through like operations and capital. But it pretty much wore everyone down, so we had to stop after the operations.
Okay, so just to confirm, July 27th will be the first meeting and budget presentation at 6 PM on Thursday. The second meeting is
August 3rd.
Third,
Wait a minute, was AJ saying that
Why don't we
first
just do it the next
board
week?
meeting?
I don't know what date on,
AJ,
Like a special meeting, not a regular scheduled meeting.
on a Thursday.
Yeah, August 3rd is Thursday.
That's Thursday. Okay,
That's the week, the very next week,
Okay.
instead of waiting until the 10th, which is the board meeting.
Yeah. Then
Mhm.
That would be a
we
special
have that
meeting.
board meeting on the 10th and potentially, continue to
That work.
Discussions, any questions
Yeah.
that the board has to put into the ops and stuff.
Okay, so the second operational presentation and then any follow-up questions and discussions regarding the entire budget
Yeah.
will occur on August 3rd at 6 PM. Well, we'll start that one early too.
As well. All right.
Okay,
Follow
another.
up with an email. For everyone that's not here too. Any
Wanted-
other announcements?
Yeah, I wanted to let everyone know that preparations are well underway for the 50th anniversary celebration, currently scheduled for Saturday, August 26th. We have quite an extravaganza. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning at AM Beach with a paddlers regatta, canoes, kayaks, and paddle boards. There are several different routes that will have people going, so we can accommodate paddlers of all ages and abilities. The festivities then shift over to the rec corridor. Between 11 and 6, we'll be having carnival games, music and talent from Sudden Valleys. That should be quite a thing to see. Food vendors, a beer garden, and just a ton of activities actually for young and old alike. We will have a barrel train, which probably won't be for adults, but also pony rides and a set of inflatables that are pretty cool, actually. So mark your calendars. We still need a lot of volunteers to help us run the event on the day of and the night before to set up a lot of this stuff. And to let us know that you're interested in participating in any of the events. For example, if you have a talent that you'd like to showcase, we'd love to have you. Go to the website, suddenvalley.com/50. And then if you're a vendor that wants to get a booth, you can let us know that. If you want to be in the talent and music lineup, you can let us know that. If you want to volunteer, you can also let us know that. Yeah, Timey?
Yeah, I've just been asked this question, so I'm gonna ask it to you. For the paddleboard and kayak regatta, is this only for people that have their own kayaks and paddle boards, or will there be some provided?
We don't have any to provide, but
So if you were renting,
yeah, we don't, I haven't done that. Have a lot of people asked you like they would do it if they had a kayak?
it's only one or two, but it's one or two.
Yeah, well, I can call around and see if we can get somebody out here.
I don't
But we
think
are
it's
going to
anything-
require, and Sam has really been doing this. We are going to require that people wear life vests, and we won't have enough of those.
It's always-
I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's just people need to know that there will not be paddle equipment provided.
Bring your
Bring
own.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to clarify some of that activity. It's going to be fluid depending on the turnout. And also I have heard from some people that would actually share some of their equipment, but it's still it's not going to be Sudden Valley providing things. It would be other paddlers, volunteers, and helping out. And so we're going to take a pretty good sized mix of volunteers and then people want to share some, because I don't want to exclude residents of all areas of Sudden Valley. And if they have some children, and so we don't want to turn them away at this point and say, we're not going to do that. It's like, it's quite possible that the community will pitch in and we may have access for that, but we do need sign up. So everyone needs to get down and sign up. So then, and clarify if they're looking for that. So then we can actually take the efforts to help that out if there's enough demand. And that's going to be the thing, is whether or not there's enough demand, and we'll try to squeeze everybody in. The limiting factor we have over there is the parking spaces of about 85, I think it was, for people hauling boats into the area. So we're going to take over the AM, PM area, and the parking areas back in there in the grass special parking area. There's plenty of parking there, and there's also all throughout the area, but it will be dedicated early that morning for the paddling events. And And we're gonna see what the turnout is starting to look like, and then possibly we'll reach out and we'll see what we can do. So don't turn anybody away. Tell them we'll see what we can do, and it all depends on demand.
Sorry, Sam, I have one more question. Just because parking is limited at AM, PM, is there a reason you're doing it there instead of at the marina? where there's
Yes.
Just a bit more parking.
There is a very big reason why we're doing it there, because we are doing everything in the rec corridor. We don't want to try to interfere with the boaters, swimmers at that time. It's August. And then there'll be some crowd. They'll all start coming in there. And there's limited parking there also. It's like, well, then we would also have to staff up and direct all and take over the area and start directing all the boaters and swimmers coming in, doing other things. We'll have a pretty good operation. Plus we have a good launch area. And it's going to be a really nice setup for what we want to do, and just move everything over there, take over that area just for that. And then we won't be battling with the all the boating and swimming activities that are always going on at the marina. It's like, it's going to be a lot quieter, smoother setup. We have good water access. We'll be able to paddle off of AM Beach, go around to PM Beach for the younger paddlers. And then we'll be able to paddle over past the marina and come back. So we're going to mix it up a little bit, but we'll keep all of that stuff away from all that traffic and activity currently that always goes on at the marina and in boat launches and stuff. So we decided to separate ourselves from that area and have a little more specialized area.
Right, thanks. It's good to have that clarity.
Any other announcements? All right, hearing none, we'll move to property or comments, which there's nobody here, so we'll move to the GM report.
Thank you. We are now in the heart of the summer season, and all departments are focused on keeping operations running smoothly. Staff are working hard to ensure that members can enjoy all of our amenities. New pool furniture has arrived. It was very much appreciated, by the way, so thank you again for approving that expense. And the issues that we experienced early in the season with the launch gate at the marina have been resolved. Trails are being maintained, and we are mowing steadily to keep up with the strong growth of grass and other vegetation throughout the valley. I'd like to talk to everyone about the marina traffic. Earlier this year, SVCA received several complaints identifying that residents were confused about how traffic was intended to move through the marina. About that same time, security logged several incident reports about residents that refused to take their direction about how to drive through the marina. In response, I met twice with SVCA's maintenance superintendent on site down there to evaluate the location and propose solutions. The intended traffic flow allows one-way traffic around the marina loop and two-way traffic on the gravel road that leads to dry slip storage and overflow parking. This approach was implemented to reduce traffic backup at the marina entrance during busy times. Vehicles pulling trailers are directed to proceed straight ahead from the entrance, and others are directed to the right towards overflow parking. We consider that the current signage in use at the marina is inadequate and have designed new signs that will be larger, will have consistent branding, and will be mounted permanently instead of being placed on cones and sandwich boards. Buying and installing this new signage is an unanticipated expense, and I'm currently negotiating with the sign vendors to get the cost down as much as possible. In the meantime, pavement markings have been added to the loop to clarify that it is one way, and the older, inconsistent markings have been painted out. SVCA plans to share information about how to drive through the marina on our website as a post and also via e-blast. Several times during the current boating season, I've been alerted by residents that there were issues at the marina. The situations were described as chaotic, and claims were made that there was no parking available. In each case, when I checked the security footage from the marina, there were no traffic backups. The volume of use was steady but below capacity, and vehicles were moving or were parked as intended in that location. While I have no doubt that there have definitely been situations in which people have been inconvenienced by traffic at the marina, I believe that this is inevitable given the size, layout, and popularity of the marina, as well as how it's being used. Moving those big trailers with boats, that takes some time and people are careful, and rightly so. But I don't believe that our approach to flowing traffic through that area is flawed. The next topic I'd like to address is vandalism. In June, SVCA responded to many incidents of vandalism and spent more than 40 hours of maintenance time on cleanup and repair. Vandalism included graffiti, removal or destruction of signs, illegal dumping, and removal or destruction of other property. For example, maintenance has retrieved picnic tables and other SVCA property from the lake multiple times. Other items have been pulled out of the water, including an empty canister of a seriously regulated cleaning chemical. Maintenance also routinely removes household garbage and many larger items, such as broken appliances and furniture, from common areas or along the roadside. Illegal dumping adds considerably to the cost of trash removal for the association and takes staff time away from more productive tasks. To reduce the amount of time spent on vandalism, we have chosen to remove some items, such as picnic tables and trash cans, from certain parks and other common spaces. This obviously makes it less convenient for residents, and for that, I apologize. On a positive note, however, in June, SVCA security team was able to identify the individual who was responsible for a significant amount of graffiti using footage from our security cameras. Because of this identification, compensation for the damage has been made to the association. And in my tenure here, that's a first. I would ask that residents please call security immediately when they see evidence of vandalism and illegal dumping. The more quickly that we become aware of these incidents, the more likely it is that we will be able to identify the individuals responsible. Individuals who abuse association assets and resources should be aware that our new security system is much more precise and flexible, giving us an effective tool to protect our property. When appropriate, significant fines as well as compensation for damage will be assessed. Swim lessons. I've spoken quite a bit about swim lessons to this group, and I have one final report to make. Swim lessons offered by the Whatcom Family YMCA in our main pool began this week and will continue through the end of August. Registration for the first session was completely full, and although there have been a few no-shows, we have crowds of children learning how to swim every Monday and Wednesday mornings. Each session can accommodate 55 students who are sorted into classes of 5 or 6 based on their age and ability. When we first began discussion about bringing the Y back to Sudden Valley, some individuals raised concerns about burdening our facilities with wear and tear caused by non-members. I'm pleased to report that of the 55 students registered, only 5 are not members of the association. To me, these outcomes, full enrollment and very low percentage of out-of-member registration, these outcomes indicate that the program is strongly supported by members and encourages the association to consider other youth athletic programs. The programs benefit our community not only by engaging our younger people in healthy and productive activities, but also by giving parents and other caregivers the opportunity to make broader connections within the association, fulfilling an important element of our mission. Yes, Nancy.
Yes. Do swim lessons and these other program attendees, will they have to join the Y to participate in the program?
No.
Thank you.
And for non-members who chose to take lessons, they simply have to buy a pool pass for the child who's participating. So it's pretty affordable. Next up is a quick update on our capital projects. We've made progress on the 10-year capital roads and drainage improvement plan. The road and drainage review has been completed by our contractor, Impact Design, and they delivered a memo to us identifying projects to be completed in 2024, along with estimated budgets for those projects. That, of course, was a significant input into the capital planning budgeting that's going ahead. We expect to receive a draft of the final report at the end of August, or a draft, and then we'll finalize it all in September. Culvert 315. The project is expected to start now in mid-August and be completed this summer by Premium Services. A final schedule will be developed once we know the delivery date for the box culvert. Barn 8 siding and covered bridge replacement. The project was submitted to Whatcom County for permit review back in February, and it is expected to go out for bid this summer. Because of extended permit review times, construction is proposed to start next year in April. Construction can't take place during the winter because of weather conditions. Construction will be sequenced so it doesn't interfere with main pool operations. For the maintenance shop remodel, the design is complete and was submitted to Whatcom County for permit review back in February. It is expected to go out for bid this spring and summer, and construction can start once permits are received. The Marina boat launch. As previously reported, we received a shorelines permit. We completed the design and submitted a building permit application back in March. The project will go out for bid this summer, with construction beginning once final permits are issued. On the ADA playground improvements, construction is expected to complete this summer, and equipment is currently ordered and a construction schedule will be forthcoming. We think that that work will begin in August. For the Austin Creek repair, design and permitting is ongoing. The project requires a shorelines permit in addition to others, and because of that, construction has been delayed until 2024. On the Cold Spring Drainage project, the design is complete, permitting is submitted, and we hope to begin construction this summer. On the 2023 culvert cleaning project, as you know, culvert cleaning began in February and was finished in April. I'd like to report now that Stremler Gravel has completed their additional work to provide positive drainage leading to and from the culverts. There is some ditch work that remains to be completed, and that will be done by maintenance as time allows. The projects or the culverts and ditches of smaller scope were not put out to bid for Stremler because we knew we could do those internally. So we'll take care of that over time. Tennis court resurfacing. Design and permitting is complete and construction is proposed for the summer. Bids have been received and will be brought to the board for review at the July 27th meeting, should time allow. The Marina docks replacement preliminary design and engineer's estimate. This project has been completed and SVCA is in receipt of the engineer's report. Asphalt repairs. Construction has started and work in gates 5, 9, and 13 has been completed. Work in gates 1 and 2 is scheduled for July 24th through the 25th. Pavement markings. Construction is expected to start at the beginning of August after the asphalt pairs are complete. Notice will be provided to residents as the work begins and will alert you when your street will be affected. The remainder of the report includes very detailed updates from each of the departments. This report will be posted to the website on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Any questions? Yeah.
I've just got one, and it's just a point of clarity. On the Marina docks replacement, it says this project is complete. Is that the work that we looked at originally, or is it just the design and the estimate?
Do you mean the replacement of the wet slips?
Yeah, because it says this project is complete, and it gave a whole long list of things, and we're saying that's all done.
So that project was for the engineers to come out and assess the condition of the docks and design out a replacement in order to estimate what the cost would be of replacements to help us with budgeting, to have a more realistic assessment.
So that's what you're talking about. That's all I wanted clarity.
Yeah, it's not like we fixed the docks. It's just that we have the report.
Yeah, that will package all that stuff up for the 27th meeting. That'll be part of all that discussion. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move to the financial reports. That's to Joel.
It's a switch.
Anyway. Hard to see, isn't it?
Other one who cares and that. File. When.
Thanks, Joanne. That's much better.
Yeah, can you focus that?
Right.
Thank you.
That in the board packet? It's in the board.
Mhm.
Yeah, statements are in the board packet. I mean, in the agenda. Oh, that's in. Okay,
For individual pages.
yeah, I wasn't sure if Nancy actually had the statements in her board agenda. So I'm going to be going over, so as you remember, the last board meeting, the fourth Thursday in June, so that was canceled. So what I'm going to be going today is what I would have gone over then, which is the April financial statements. Or is that better? So I'm going over the April financial statements since the last board meeting was canceled. So I'll just start off with, I'll just run through it exactly how I do it from month to month. Within the first thing is the balance sheet here. And of course, I said this last month, and it's true this month too. There's nothing really all that remarkable as a standout on this, which is a good thing. There's nothing, that means there's nothing bad going on or anything really abnormal. So it's just a standard balance sheets. I guess maybe just in case anyone has a question about this, where this used to be called finance leases, I mean, capital leases right here, but now some terminology has been changed because of a new accounting standard. So they're called finance leases, actually. And you'll see next month where maybe I hesitate to even get into this, but next month I'll start showing what are called like operating leases, right of use assets, and just operating lease liabilities. But I'll get into that next month.
So Joel, just real quick, since you brought it up, do you want to just quickly explain what the capital leases are? That's
Okay,
like
So yeah, so these things that you see down here called finance leases, if you looked at like a month ago, maybe I started calling it finance leases last month, but the month prior to that, it would have said capital leases. It's the same stuff. So basically what this is would be what you would think of as traditional capital lease, so our golf carts and some turf vehicles. That's really all that is making that up right now, the 50 golf carts, and we got some turf vehicles in 2020 as well that were capital leases. But it's a new accounting standard where they're just changing things up, and capital leases and finance leases are accounted for in the same way, but now they're called finance leases. But just to put it in a quick nutshell, so I mentioned operating right of use assets, operating leases, right of use assets. Basically what that means is, like in the past, if we were to rent something like a copier machine, for us would be copier machines largely, and a stamp machine. But if you rent something and it's not a capital lease, it's just what you think of as just a straight rental, then it would show up as just a rental expense or an operating lease expense. But a new accounting standard is just required us to now show that on the balance sheet. It's a little kind of like it's just basically showing the amount of the rental that is unused, and that shows up as a rental right of use asset with a corresponding liability, but it's just, I'll get into that more next month since it doesn't appear here. But it doesn't change anything overall. The two basically net out on the balance sheet with the exception of the finance leases. But okay, so I'll go to the next page, which is the most interesting page, which is the income statement here. So just to get right to the bottom line with this. So the good thing is, so remember last month when I did March, and then I said, I was projecting at that point that April would probably come in around $200,000 or so operating net income. So we did. So we came in for April at 214,301, and we're at about real close to $62,000, better than budget on our operating net income. In comparison, last year we came in, so when I say last year, obviously I mean April of 2022, we came in at 83,678 net income. And then we were at about real close to $67,000 worse than budget last year. So that has flipped around for us at the end of April, which is, of course, that's great. The collection rate, so we budgeted for a 95% collection rate. We came in for April at a 96% collection rate. Obviously, we 96. So we're a full 1% higher than what we budgeted for. And I've also calculated May's collection rate. So May, we came in at, so it's gone up. So it went from 96% to 96.7%. So in comparison, so we're sitting at 96% here at April 2023. So April of 2022, we were at 95.7%. So we're higher than we were last year at this time. And then once for May's numbers, May 2023, 96.7%. So it's gone up. May 2022 is 96.5%. So we're higher at the end of May than where we were at the end of May in 2022, which is great because at the end of 2022, we finished out the year at a 97.6% collection rate. So we're already on track to do that and possibly better. So that's a good thing. And of course, I've said it before, I'll just quickly say it again in terms of like what that means for us is since we budget at 95%, if we do 96%, then that means operations will take in another 23,600. I'm rounding these numbers, but about another 23,600 more than what we budgeted for, which is good. SURF would take in about another 13,500. Roads would take in close to another $14,000 for every 1% over that 95% collection rate. And I've also, just for the heck of it, I've also even looked ahead to May. And, the numbers that we have, of course, we're at a pretty good point in terms of having firm May numbers. So I expect them to probably be what they are right now. So it looks like May could come in also at about a $400,000 operating net income, which means at about $237,000 better than budget, that's fantastic also. In terms of, I always share with you the expense to revenue ratio, which is just basically when I give you, so a lower number is better. So what this ratio means, so like if I said it's 85%, then really all that means is for every dollar of revenue, we had 85 cents in expenses. So obviously a lower number is better. Now, what do we budget for? If we have a zero budget, we're budgeting for that to be 100% at year end. So obviously before year end, the better we are at this, it gives us more breathing room throughout the rest of the year. But so for example, March 2023, last month, we're at 88.2%. So we would expect that number to be higher if the operating net income was lower. So now that the operating net income is going up, it's an inverse relationship. We would expect this ratio to come down. So April 2023, it is now 84.8%. In relation, April 2022 is 93.9%. And so that just gives you an idea. So basically, when I say it's 84.8% in April, that means for every dollar of revenue, we had 84.8 cents of expenses. So the next page, which is, of course, and this becomes a handy page, especially going into budgeting season or whatever, whenever I look at this all the time, whenever I try to forecast how much money we'll have at the end of the year in any one of these funds, given the expenditures going on with them or what's proposed to be expended. So for SURF, this is just in all these numbers, as I pointed out before, tied back to the balance sheet. So like SURF, this $3,220,671. That's the net available cash at the end of, or that's the balance sheet cash at 12/31/2022. So here it is right here. And then it just, this basically, just in a quick nutshell, obviously it has all our dues coming in, interest income, all our expenditures. So this is all the cash that we put out the door, basically checks written for capital projects. Our outlook of, this is the dues we expect to take in at our 95% collection rate. So prior year collections, SURF loan payments, the big thing. That's all that's how much money we'll put out in SURF loan payments for the remainder of the year. And then this number, which is the most important number, is obligated expenses, 681,318. And that's just basically, that is all the projects that the board has approved that are open to date. And if they were, we'll just act like we're going to spend all of that money on an approved project. So that's what it is, 681,318. That's what the board has approved to spend. And we really can't spend over that unless we got a change order or something like that on a project. So, and then roads, the exact same thing. Then we have this board recommended carryover balance, which is just an amount that we would like not to fall below, which then, so like this number right here, net usable cash at 12/31/2023. That's what we would expect to have at 2020. I mean, at the end of the year. But then when we strip away the $600,000 carryover, that's how much we really have that we could use, 2,721,904. And it's the same principle for every single one of these columns. The big columns would obviously be SURF, roads, the big ones, mailbox, which we haven't spent anything out of it. UDR is the other big one. And well, in terms of like these balances, so basically SURF is pretty static from where it was last year at about this time. It's pretty close. Roads is down by about 900,000. And that's just because of the expenditures that the board has approved to spend, which is just part of the 10-year roads plan. Mailbox obviously is up since we haven't spent anything out of it. UDR would be the big thing right here in terms of, so we're down about 66,000 from where we were at this time in April 2022, but that's just because of expenditures as well. And obviously UDR is something that the board, it can only be used out of here unless the board has approved it. Or if it's an approved collection cost or something like that, that can come out of UDR. And I've said before too, and I'll just say it again quickly in terms of the dues that comes into UDR is the money. This is solely related to operating dues, and it would be the dues that have been charged in prior years. So if someone, say, didn't pay their dues in December, for December of 2022, and then they paid it today, then the money that was attributed to SURF or roads goes into here, just like normal, or mailboxes. But then the operating portion of that would go into UDR. And that's how this, so like in a perfect world, if the collection rate were 100% the entire time from the beginning, we'd have no UDR funds coming in here. And I guess the ideal thing would be in the future that, geez, we don't have as much coming into UDR. Well, that's because the collection rate is nice and high and everyone's paying their dues. Now, these next two pages, which are really the last two important pages, this is showing you the income statement again, but this is now presenting it to you on a departmental basis. So this shows you how that income is attributed to each and every department. And I'll skip over current month and we'll just go to the year to date since that's more interesting. This is January 1 through April 30, 2023 year to date. The one before this is the exact same thing, only for the month, April 1 through April 30. And then there's that 214,301 right here, which you saw back on the income statement. And this shows you how each department was responsible for that. And then I do talk about, since golf is obviously our biggest revenue center, I'll highlight that real quickly. Anyways, it's the second highlighted stuff, but so golf, we have, so the revenue for golf year to date, 378,756. So last year they had, at this time, year to date through April 2022, they had about 300, real close to 371,000. So they're about $7,800 better than they were last year, revenue wise. Now, their total cost would be this actual salary benefit number here, plus all other expenses here. And then those two added together, about 342,271. Last year, they had 298,162. So their expenditures are up about 44,110, right around there. So the bottom line for golf is net income. They have about 36,045 through April. Last year, they had about 72,762 through April. Of course, some of this is a matter of timing with the weather. So that's a difference of about 36,277. And I do know that golf has really picked up lately. It seems like even Brian was just even telling us just the other day that July is already on track now to beat last year's revenue for the year.
June was his largest revenue month
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. So like, I mean, looking ahead, I can see year-to-date revenue for golf through May 2022. So the year-to-date revenue was through May so I'm looking ahead 1 month now so I'm doing a look back first to 2022 was $463,043. But then in May of 2023, the end of last month, then it went up to $516,847 for total revenue.
Had to order extra golf balls.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Range balls.
Now with Marina, one thing right here, I guess I'll point out too, is you'll see for Marina, the revenue better worse column, how it says as well, it's worse than budget by about, we'll just say 44,000. And then you're wondering, well, what is that? That's the bad debt expense put against the slip fees, the dock fees, all of that stuff. So basically, once we bill everyone for all of this stuff, they have, what do they have? A couple of months to pay it, I guess. But as soon as it goes beyond, this is what we do every year. As soon as it goes beyond 30 days late, then we just naturally write it off as though, oh, we won't get it. Obviously we will get it. But then when they pay it, then this gets reversed. So this bad debt expense reverses itself out. So like, for example, in April, we took in, so we recouped an additional like $65,000, so that's a reversal to bad debt expense of $65,000 in April. And I also know in May, looking ahead, that we took in another $58,000 of these fees as well. So meaning like, yeah, the slip owners always pay their fees. So the long story short is these bad debt expenses in Marina will always reverse off and go away as the year goes on.
Yeah. To give you, to give you a more granular explanation, we assume that everybody who has a slip is going to renew, and we charge them. And then they tell us if they are going to renew or not. And this year they had until the 12th of May to get their renewal payments into us. So until the end of May, we won't see the majority of those payments come in because everyone waited till the last minute, given human nature, I suppose. And then a few people chose not to renew, but that's okay because we reversed the charge out of their account And we have a very healthy waiting list for both wet slips, dry slips, and kayaks racks. So at this point in July, during the month of June, we were able to get back to 100% capacity. So every single slip has been rented and paid at this point, which is wonderful and why we have an overaged budget.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I would say that is pretty much the highlights of the April financial statements. If anyone had any questions about that, go ahead, Linda.
Okay, first question. So in April, there was under common costs a really large deposit. And when I go and look at I went to the longer explanation that you post, and it says that we had a $33,252.84 insurance settlement gains that came into common costs. Can I ask what that was for?
Yeah, so part of that was for a tractor. So there's a tractor fire in Turf. So basically that's like 20-some thousand of that was a check that we received for basically insurance payment to repair that tractor. So the tractor fire happened in 2022 and we received the check in 2023. And I believe the remainder of that was for a sign that got damaged that we received a
Oh.
check for as well.
By Gate 2?
The Gate 2 sign, yeah. So that piece of heavy machinery is being repaired now. And there's ongoing negotiation between the repair facility and the insurer regarding what repairs are required to bring it back to code to go back into regular use. So that claim is still outstanding and being managed.
So the tractor is being repaired,
Yes.
because it kind of sounded like it was, no, it's not going to be fixed. The other thing that I was curious about is, so if I look at the marina, which you were talking about, it looks like when I went to the extended pages, where it's like, we had a budget for this year. And it's like, for instance, the best one to do is to look at the marina dry slip income. And that was, the budget was supposed to be, the annual budget for that was supposed to be 56,684. Or if we rented everything. We've taken in $71,899. And I'm like, did we not, when we figured out the budget for 2023, did we not have the increased costs, or is it increased number of spots that are being rented?
There are an additional number of dry slips that are being rented out. But the main thing is that the fees increase beyond what was originally budgeted.
Yeah, and when we did that reconfiguration, what she's talking about is there are more dry slips now than there were previously. So we have a bigger opportunity to bring in more income.
It's just when we discuss the budget, that's the kind of stuff that would be nice to know, because I don't know if we ever got a final number on, now we have X number of dry slips. You know, I know that there's no difference in the wet slips, but there definitely is in the dry slips. And I think haven't we also added kayak racks?
Money was set aside for the manufacture of additional kayak racks, but we have not done that work yet. Our main welders for that are in Turf, and they've been flat out busy since January.
Or we could order them, but we have 191 dry slips. Is that the number?
I don't remember the exact number. It's in that ballpark. We had 175, and then I think we added 20. But what we added in theory wasn't exactly what we added when we physically got out there and measured. And so what we need to do is, to Linda's point, true it up so that we make a much more accurate projection for the 2024 budget.
Yeah, because it makes a difference. I was shocked to see how much money we had actually taken in for dry slips. My last question is, I was looking on page 13 and I was looking at utilities. And for April alone, we were like $9,300 over budget in utilities in just 1 month. Isn't that a lot?
Page.
I'm looking at page 13 and I'm looking at utilities and it gives a number of 27,000. Oh, help me, 948. But that's like $9,300, almost $9,400 over budget for just 1 month. Just seems high. Is it just overall or is it one department?
Well,
We haven't gone into like
The
filling
P-
the pools or anything.
Well, the
yet.
PSC has been pretty high because I know when we're signing the checks, we're always freaking out about, they just seem to keep going up. I don't know if it's because it's so hot, but it's across the board. It seems to be at all of the facilities. Can't really,
It just,
Yeah,
it
the
just
same
popped
as
out that
last
it was
year.
so high in just 1 month. You know,
Yeah.
I can understand if we have a water leak, that 1 month we did have that and it
Yeah.
was like, well, but it's like, this is just April. We haven't filled, done any of the work with the pools and stuff yet. That's all. But anyway, that was my question, but it is what it is. Just curious if there was someone behind it.
some of these months too, like when it comes to utilities, like there's a stagger of when so it's like we won't get a utility, like a water bill, like
Every
every
other
single
month.
month, right? It can show up every other month. Now in the budgeting software, we really try to like capture like which months, so that could also be an issue here too, where it slid in there, or by the time it got coded in or received in AP, it just happened to hit a month where it wasn't budgeted.
Just
But like year to date, it'll catch up.
High.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Thank you, Joel.
thank you, Joel.
Yeah. It's warm. It's warm in here.
Yes.
All right. We'll move on to the next item. We have one continuing business item for a capital request on the irrigation system pump controller for the golf course. Pass to Joanne.
Thank you. The purposes of this memo is to request approval to execute our standard construction contract with McDonald and Sons Ventures for the replacement of the irrigation system pump controller. On May 11th, the SVCA Board of Directors approved the allocation of $44,981.46 from SURF for the purchase of a new irrigation system pump controller. The selected vendor for that work was McDonald and Sons Ventures. After approval was received, SVCA prepared the standard construction contract, which was attached to the memo. So my request is that the board approve the execution of the standard construction contract to reflect the agreed project terms approved on May 11th.
Make a motion that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the execution of SVCA standard construction contract with McDonald and Sons for the replacement of the irrigation system pump controller.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions?
Nancy brought maps in just to point out, to give us a visual on the layout. So thank you, Nancy. They're awesome.
You're welcome.
So I have one question based on this map. I'm sorry. This is a very long distance between, like where these pumps are, coming in and then to where it has to flow. How far is that, Nancy?
I think it was around 3,000 feet.
So
I don't
3,000
remember.
feet, do we not need a permit or anything like that? I know that their contract says that they are required to get all of the necessary permitting, but is that something? I'm not familiar with this type of thing. I don't know.
We're pulling out a computerized unit in Pump House 1 and we're putting in a new computerized unit
So
in
it
Pump House
doesn't
1.
really impact anything. Like,
Nothing isn't other than, and in fact, they're irrigating now. They're just going in there and pressing the on button and the off button when they're done, which is taking a lot of time actually and is inefficient and wastes water. But there's no permit required to switch out an electronic component in my understanding of the project.
thank you.
Sam?
I did have a walkthrough with Greg Waddle, the turf manager, very thorough. We went to the pump house building and observed it's a standard large pumping operation in there that's gonna it needed the update, and also what they were installing is a controller that actually ramps up the speed of the motor so that it doesn't put an instant blast of pressure on the piping system. And then there's the upgrade. The cabinet itself have to actually remove the old equipment, but still be able to use the electrical panel, which those are really expensive if you had to replace the whole thing, but they'll be able to install a new panel on the door by removing the other one. And so that's going to be good. They'll actually have to go through the skylight opening, open that up to lift pump motors in and out of there too. So there will be some work done over there that after he was showing me all the stuff, it does explain why some of those costs are up there. It's not a lot of stuff in that room, but what is in there is rather expensive equipment that is expected to run flawlessly for, a long time, decades. And it looks like a good solution to what we need out here to keep going. And when they were talking about they could manually do that, starting pumps, but then again, it's just like a time clock on any irrigation system. It's a lot more efficient to have it controlled and have it controlled by zones where it's needed. And in turn, that's electricity, and those pumps really can draw some electricity. So manage them to where we're not overwatering is the key there. So we'll save some money on that by having a better controller. So it looked like a pretty good setup in a straightforward swap out. So yeah, it's like we're replacing like equipment. It's kind of similar to replacing a refrigerator in your house and upgrading a little bit. It's looked to me to be quite beneficial. We discussed all of the piping lanes in all the different lakes, and it is an extensive system. I wish he was here to explain it because he was very thorough, and I appreciate that, Greg. If you happen to watch it, it's nice to get out there and see all the components. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, we'll call the question. The motion on the table is that the board of directors approve the execution of Sun Valley Standard Construction Contract with McDonald and Sons for the replacement of the irrigation system pump controller. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. Brian, I'm assuming I didn't see you.
Yeah, I said I approved. Had my hand up.
All right, we'll move on to new business now. First item on the agenda is an approval on water aerobics fees.
No, next. Darn. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I thought that.
Thanks, AJ. The purpose of this request is to get approval for fees proposed for 2023 water aerobics fitness activity. SVCA offers several different paid fitness classes such as Zumba. The model for these classes is that they are offered by individual professionals who have entered into a license agreement with SVCA to use association facilities to operate their business. The scope of their activities is predefined, and they must schedule all activities through SVCA. As compensation, SVCA receives 10% of the revenues they collect for one-on-one activities, for example, personal training, and up to 20%, a sliding scale is used, of the fees collected on group classes. This results in a very small amount of revenue for Sudden Valley, but offers benefits to members who enjoy having access to these classes. A different model is being tested this year with the introduction of water aerobics, a regularly scheduled group class that will be led by a qualified SVCA employee. If successful, this new model could increase the revenue earned by the Recreation Department, offering the opportunity to support additional fitness and athletic programs. To gauge the interest of the community in a water aerobics activity, sign-up sheets were posted at the rec front desk. More than 30 people indicated an interest in participating in the activity. SVCA legal counsel was asked if there would be an undue liability risk if an employee led a fitness class. Richard, our lawyer, responded to say that all such activities present risk. That risk could be substantially mitigated by requiring that participants sign a strong liability waiver before attending a class, and that our insurance advisor should be asked to ensure that SVCA was appropriately insured against this type of risk. Our insurance advisor, Hub International, advised that SVCA's current liability insurance provides appropriate coverage, but that SVCA's instructor employee might be liable. They advise that we acquire a policy to cover that risk. SVCA obtained this policy with a small annual premium of $350. Mia Stromberg is a returning member of the SVCA lifeguard team. She teaches fitness classes during the school year at Oregon State University and has taught water aerobics in the past. When interviewing for the lifeguard position, she proposed leading water aerobics classes here for Sudden Valley in the main pool. We propose to hold 3 water aerobics classes each week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings between 11 and 11:45. The class would be limited to 20 participants per session, and lap swimming would continue uninterrupted. We propose to charge participants $8 per session and to offer a 12-session punch card for $90. Participation would be first come, first served. If more participants show up for the class than can be accommodated, we will implement a reservation system so that people aren't disappointed. The table included in the memo presents a simple analysis of the income and expenses associated with this program. My request is that the Board of Directors approve the proposed fees for water aerobics, which are $8 per participant per class, or a punch card covering 12 classes for $90.
All right, any discussion on that? Linda?
Okay, so this insurance that you purchased, what does it cover besides this water aerobics class?
The insurance that we purchased covers named instructors who may be sued individually by a participant for causing an injury or doing something that led to an injury. It's a remote risk given the waiver that we have in place.
So,
It is a risk, so we've covered for it.
but that's in addition to our insurance coverage. Shouldn't that come to the board when we change anything like that? I mean, if you're doing it because this triggered that, shouldn't we have made this decision first and then do the? That's why I'm trying to find out. You needed this anyway, is what you're saying. This is something the association needed anyway, no matter what. This is coverage we needed, regardless of whether or not we approved this, is what you're saying. It was coverage we were lacking.
It's $350, so it doesn't hit the threshold for board approval.
Well, I'm just trying, well, I thought all insurance is required. If we're making a change to something. I'm looking at you, Joel. What do you think?
Well, I mean, typically with all insurance, it's signed out by the general manager. Like when we go out for renewals for insurance. So I mean, this would definitely fall under operating costs, which is what it's going to be paid out of.
Okay. But it's being used for things in addition to this aerobics class.
That is correct.
Because I just want to be sure we didn't put the cart before the horse. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we haven't voted on it yet, and you said we already purchased it. So I just wanted to be sure.
Well, my understanding is that we can manage programs in the recreational center because that's an operational function. The reason I'm bringing this to the board and providing all of this background information is because we're using a new model and I wanted to apprise you of the new model. But the thing that I'm asking you to approve is the fee, because the bylaws are clear that the board sets the fees.
Okay.
Nancy?
I just had a couple of questions. So since we're having a staff person teach this class, is she paying a stipend beyond her? Because lifeguards don't get paid a lot of money. Is she going to do that, or is that going to be her only reimbursement for teaching this class? Because clearly she was hired as a lifeguard, not to teach this class. And if she's teaching this class, she can't be a lifeguard. That's my part of my question.
Right. My analysis of expenses includes a small stipend or bonus for every person that participates in a class. So just as when a licensed professional rents our facilities, we get a proportion of their revenues. I'm flopping the model. So she's going to get on a sliding scale based on how many people are in the class. She'll get us about $1.50 per person per class
That's
as
fine.
bonus compensation. So yeah, we don't want to take advantage of employees. And this is a great opportunity to test how it works.
And you've already developed the waiver for the participants to fill out?
Yes, Richard took care of that back in April.
Okay, then I guess my last question is, so I guess I understand this, the 350, if we wanted to have another employee sometime before the end of the year, teach a class of some sort that they could teach, that 350 could apply to that employee also, correct?
That is correct.
Gotcha.
We would need to call it out by naming the instructor and sharing the parameters of the class. So I imagine that there would be less risk involved in teaching flower arranging than, I don't know, javelin throwing.
But somebody that, I'm saying you could have somebody that was employed that could teach Zumba or something like that, or a class here that could be offered.
Absolutely.
Correct, because right now it's independent people, but in theory, it could be an employee that is a trainer and has their certification.
Right. At this point in time, none of these revenue amounts are material, as Joel would say. But starting to think more entrepreneurially about our assets and serving the community in a way that generates additional funds to support additional programs seems like a savvy investment to me.
I think the water aerobics and the swim lessons are just, they're excellent. They've been here in the past. And, it's excellent. I just wanted to clarify the thing about the insurance.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing or ask one? Oh, go ahead, Nancy. I'm sorry.
Nancy was nice.
Okay, I wonder, I realize the income will be small. Will it be negative?
That's why we assessed the interest. I think it's very unlikely, especially given that we won't be paying any bonuses to the instructor if we don't get any people in the classes. And the outlay for holding this particular class is $40 to buy 40 pool noodles. So this was a pretty low risk opportunity for us to try the new model. And obviously the $350 that we paid for the insurance.
Yeah, you are thinking you're covering the 350.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, that was my point. I just was going to say, because it doesn't, the statement here talks about that this analysis reflects income and expenses, but it actually doesn't reflect the expenses and the cost of the staffing and everything. But I agree, it's probably at a worst case scenario, you're at a break even point and you can get a good feel for community interest in it. And it sounds like that was some insurance that we probably needed to have anyway. So
Actually, the costs do represent the pool noodles, the insurance, and the bonus paid to the lifeguard.
really?
Yeah, there's like there's if you take
Yeah, on the
out of
wrong-
that, and there's like $600 left. be like $500 that she could have
Yeah.
individual people that come to the class.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty low risk operation for us to test the waters and see how it goes. But that's my opinion and it's your opinion that counts.
Joel just had a question.
No, I said you should ask it. You should-
I should ask. Okay, I mean, did it include the attorney consultation?
No, because he is such a supporter of water aerobics. The attorney fees were
Definitely. no.
cleverly concealed in another invoice.
He got.
No, Joel, I did not put the attorney's fees in the cost.
Any other discussion? All right, we'll call the question. The motion on the table is that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors, actually, we never made a motion, never mind. I'll move that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the proposed fees for water aerobics of $8 per participant per class or a punch card of 12 classes for $90. Any second?
Second,
All right. All those in favor?
Approve.
That passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on to the next approval request, which is some other miscellaneous fees.
Thank you.
Can I say one other thing? I apologize. So did this agenda that came to us, is this on, this is the same as what's on the website?
Yeah.
I would suggest taking, you've got people's personal email addresses listed in here.
Oh, yeah, good point. Sorry. And I'm supposed to be so security conscious. That was dopey.
on their email, yeah. Definitely.
Okay, next up, requesting approval of changes to SVCA fees for signs and maps. The current fees for purchasing signs and maps are shown in the table below. The cost of the supplies used to make these signs has risen considerably, increasing the fees by approximately 10%. Well, some of them are more, but we don't sell very many maps. So overall, I don't think people will pay more than 10% over what they have paid. Anyway, the cost of printing those maps is exorbitant and the proposed fees cover the increase. So we sell signs for basically to realtors when they're listing properties. And many people choose to buy our signs because they know that they're approved, they're within the ACC parameters for signs. So we sell a double-sided for sale sign that comes, it's corrugated plastic board with a metal post. And the current fee is $37 for that sign, and we're proposing to charge $40. People sometimes buy just a single-sided sign, and that's $25, and we're saying $28. A single-sided sign, but without the post, costs $15, and we're saying $18. The for sale sign, just the sticker, is $12, and we're saying $15. So honestly, 99% of the signs we sell are the double-sided, which has the smallest increase. And then we have the map on here. It's a 2-foot by 3-foot large print on an architectural printer. It takes actually like 15 minutes for a staff person just to go up there and connect to the printer and make sure it's working and then print it out and everything else. But anyway, we charge $7 for that, and that doesn't even cover the cost of paper and ink. So I'm proposing to raise it to 10, which is a huge increase, but not a lot of money. So anyway, my request is that the board approve the proposed fees for the purchase of signs and maps.
Second. Oh, wait, you can't make.
I'll make a motion that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the proposed fees for the purchase of signs and maps.
AJ, I have a question.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second,
All right, Nancy, go ahead.
Thank you. I thought you were going to run it to a vote. I wanted to ask the question. Have you considered just sending out those architectural anything over, say, an 11 by 17? Send it to Copy Source or any of the outside.
Well, we-
Mail it to them, they print it, they might deliver it, or somebody might have to pick it up, but running a printer is expensive.
Yeah, that printer is super expensive, but we, yeah. We we use that printer to create signs for the sandwich boards. It prints a 2 foot by 3 foot. And that's where most of our usage goes. We have a bunch of different maps. And when people come in and say they want one, we're like, okay, do you have 20 minutes? Because we're going to go print it. It's not like we have a back stock of maps. So that's a typical scenario. Today we had someone come in and ask for a trail map. And so we have complementary maps that are printed on 11 by 17 paper. And honestly, I cannot read anything on that map, even with my glasses. Now, younger eyes than mine may be able to make do with that. But we suggest to people that they pay the extra bucks to get the map that's actually legible. So that's our scenario. It's not a bad idea, Nancy. I can ask or look into it and see.
Yeah, most people that I know that dealt with maps in their business, they sent them out just because the care and feeding of a big printer or plotter is just expensive.
Sonia?
So this is just slightly off of what my topic, but I'm wondering, I'm doing what Nancy's doing over here. What, have we considered like changing our policy to make them have to buy the signs from SVCA? Because what I've been seeing is like, there's starting to be all kinds of for sale signs out there, colored signs, big signs, arrow signs and everything. So they're not staying within the rule that says you're supposed to do a certain size and look.
Well, there's a steady trickle of residents who call in real estate signs that violate the covenants. And I continuously brief security to look out for signs, to look out for RVs and boats parked at the house, to look out for construction materials encroaching on common space or the roadway. Those are the basic things that we want security always to be actively looking for. And so we're trying to enforce the rules. We can't catch everything. It's a big place, but I don't know that mandating it would change anything. Because usually when I call up a realtor, that's the first thing I do. If someone reports that there's an oversized sign or an inappropriate sign, they all have phone numbers. So I call up the real estate agent and I say, your sign at such and such address is not within the requirements of the HOA, and you have 48 hours to remove it or we will take it down. And then they call back and apologize and say they didn't know we had any rules. And, what are the requirements? And I tell them and I say, we could just print you a sign. And they say, okay, just print the sign. So the biggest thing is ignorance about the rules. And maybe that I'm a naive person and maybe all the real estate agents know what they are and they just say that to me, but whatever. But I don't know that it would help is my point.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. What's just a sticker?
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would want that, but it's a price in the set. Like I said, we sell double-sided signs with the H posts. That's what we sell. But this is in there, so I imagine that there was a reason that this was in there, and I'm not going to eliminate it and then need it later. Have to come back.
I didn't know what a
It's
sticker
a
was.
sticker, like, let's say they
Probably if you
already,
just have your own blank piece of cord.
yeah, like they already have a sign, but so then they can put a new information on there. So it's just a sticker.
The only thing that I noticed is I went back and looked at the 2022 fee schedule.
It's not even showing up on the website. It's a 404.
Well, I know, but there's some people who have been smart enough to print that out before everything disappeared. And if the only thing that's not on there is this double-sided,
And I figured that out too. This was awesome, Linda. I had the same thought process. I'm like, well, gee, because this is programmed in our POS system. And then I realized it's $25 for the single-sided sign with post plus an extra sales sticker.
Okay.
Crazy.
Anyway, those are the only two things. It's just, I hope when we do the budget for 2024, that it used to be after the AGM or whatever, we used to take and approve the fine and fee schedule for the year. We've been piecemealing it all year long, and it would really be nice to get back to that. There have been some years when the.
Well, Fines and fee schedule isn't a yearly thing. It's a static document that we change as fees need to
But-
be updated.
But the problem is,
We shouldn't really put a year on the fees.
but the thing is,
It should
if-
just be the fines and.
let's just say, let's just pretend that the boat schedule went in partly, they put out some of the old schedule and some of the new schedule. And that's why if everything's kept together, even if there is no change in a year, the board looks at the fee schedule because that's in the bylaws. The board determines what those fines and fees are. And I agree with you, it'd be nice if it was static. But I'm saying, like, for instance, you couldn't change rental rates like for up here in the barn and stuff, because there'd be some people that would be under contract for old rates. Then you're gonna charge them the new rate. That's why I'm saying it would be nice to have that done at a time where it's set, because then you'd know that that also is gonna match with what your revenue sources are, much like the marina stuff for this year. Because clearly there's more dry slips than before. And it just, as much as we can, I think it would be nice to keep that, to get that taken care of ahead of time. That's all.
I'm laughing because, there was no way for us to know how many dry slips were going to be made when they reconfigured that parking lot. That's why I was laughing. Sorry.
I know, it's just, it'd be nice if it was done and over with, because it would save us all from coming back and doing this unless there was something new like the swim lessons that Joanne would present.
Just a quick comment at the risk of being shot down by the community is in the rest of the world, fees increase on a yearly basis based on inflation.
Well, I will say that golf is golf does change theirs regularly every year. One of the things
Yeah.
we ran into is we found out he was increasing dues without bringing to the board, if you guys remember. So that's changed. So if there are regular increases, we know when they occur. And so we're trying, I don't disagree that we should try to coordinate them as much as possible so we're not getting hit constantly with fee changes. But I think some of this too is that Joanne's identifying new issues, like the fact that we were losing money on those signs, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the fees are largely, staff's job to identify if we're not breaking even at a minimum on what we're charging for things. So I think they're kind of an ongoing thing. I think, if there are fees that we think, are not high enough or out of whack, the manager should just be notified and they can look into that. So. Any other discussion? All right, the motion on the table was that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the proposed fees for the purchase of signs and maps. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I make one request though with regards, so we changed a couple fees, we added a new one. At the next meeting, can you add them to the official fines and fees schedule and just put that in the consent agenda to be so it's in a formal document with all the other fees?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the last item on the agenda is the 50th anniversary committee. So Brian has got a busy summer schedule and looking to pass over the chair of the committee over to Sam. So looking to see if there's any objections.
So Sam will need to be appointed to the committee and then he can be made the chair.
Does anybody have any objection to appointing Sam to the committee and replacing him with, replacing Brian with Sam as the chair? No objections, and that's good, and we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.